Hello, everybody. This is All In on the Dance Marathon Sprint Model. We're from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and we're from VolThon. My name is Isabel Ponder,
My name is Megan Balda.
and let's get into it. So the Dance Marathon Sprint Model was proposed by CMN last year at DMLC, and it's basically a new way of thinking about your year and how you spend your time as a dance marathon program. It splits your year up into different sections to decrease burnout for your internal team and your external participants. So you have your foundation sprint, focusing on making sure everyone's on the same page as far as your internal team is concerned. You do your team captain onboarding there. Then you have your recruitment sprint, obviously getting those participants. Your activation sprint is when you start fundraising. And then your event sprint, which is your dance marathon day, going into your transition sprint, which is where we are right now with new leadership coming in and Ignite.
So when the sprint model was first introduced, our internal team had a lot of mixed reactions. Personally, I was a big fan. I loved the idea of the sprint model, but then again, it had to take some time to understand the sprint model and understand how it really adapted to our program. So looking at our total fundraising timeline between 2023 and 2024, you're going to see kind of this very similar trends. However, using the sprint model, we really maximize those natural trends to focus on that data and where we were seeing either fundraising or recruitment mostly happening. So, with adapting Sprint, we want to talk about three main areas where we did this. First, we focused on intentional relationships on campus and also focusing on awareness during our foundation sprint. We also modified our recruitment strategy during the recruitment sprint. And lastly, how we increased our activation during that activation sprint.
So intentional relationships and focusing on awareness. Given that with the sprint model, you have much of your year that you are not recruiting people or asking people to fundraise, we decided to use this time to focus on getting our name out there, making sure that people knew what VolThon was across campus, while also recentering our focus on awareness and cause connection. So what this looked like for us, starting off big with Child Health Day. In the past, Child Health Day had a really strong emphasis on recruitment. And for many years, we had free registration that day. And that led to a lot of $0 fundraisers who, didn't fundraise throughout the year, which isn't super beneficial. So we decided to switch things up this year, and Child Health Day became an internal fundraising push and an external awareness push. It ended up bringing in our largest total ever for Child Health Day. This focus on making sure our internal team was fundraising and spreading awareness about East Tennessee Children's Hospital and VolThon as an organization, we found this to be really beneficial. It got our name out there like we wanted, and it also taught our internal team a lot about successfully fundraising, what works for them, what their donors respond well to. And then we also had a 7-on-7 football fundraiser with our chapter of Phi Gamma Delta during their philanthropy week. And in the past, we had struggled with creating relationships with our fraternities on campus. They simply do not want to come to a 12-hour dance marathon, which is fine. So we decided to meet them where they're at, engage them in something that they enjoy doing. And we found that this was a very successful event to do with them. And then we partnered with Phi Delta Epsilon during our school's homecoming competition. This was a great way to build that relationship. We spent the week painting banners and competing in different activities and competitions around campus. And it was a great way to foster a relationship with another organization on campus that supports East Tennessee Children's Hospital.
So, moving into our recruitment sprint, our recruitment team really focused on creating a team captain program. So, with this, we wanted to establish that strong team captain program prior to the recruitment sprint. So, building that team captain program came during the foundation sprint, actually, when we did a lot of educating our team captains. So, with that, we created a space of clear and concise communication, building relationships with team captains, and educating team captains on what VolThon is and what VolThon does for East Tennessee Children's Hospital. As well, with help from our team captains, this really helped limit burnout for our own team when it came to recruiting participants. So, kind of how this worked is that we noticed that participants were more likely to register when hearing about VolThon through someone that they knew and trust. So, for example, our FIMU team captain, they knew her very well, they trusted her very well, and so they were more inclined to register with that. From there, we worked on continuing to engage participants post-registration. A lot of this looked like personalized, but also engaging text messages and emails post-registration. So, looking at those numbers in 2023, we saw a 34% decrease in participant registration. In 2023, we also saw a 24% retention rate. A little bit of background, in 2022, we had a free registration code where we registered over 500 participants just within an hour or within a day. And so, with that, we noticed that a lot of people were registering because the registration fee was completely waived. They were signing up for something that was free. However, after they had registered, they were not fundraising. So, they were $0 fundraisers. In 2023, we decided to get rid of that free registration code because, in the end, it wasn't beneficial for us. We noticed that we had all these participants who were not fundraising and who were not contributing to that fundraising total. Um, so, we put a lot more emphasis on just trying to intentionally register. By building that in 2023 and with the sprint model and understanding how we're supposed to go about recruitment and with our team captains, we actually saw a 25% increase in participant registration. And with that, in 2024, we also saw a 42% retention rate. So those that we had intentionally recruited in 2023 wanted to come back and participate again in 2024.
So activation, part of the activation sprint. As Megan just talked about, our team captains were recruited during that foundation sprint, and we really tried to treat them as part of our internal team and hold them at like a higher standard than our participants because they played a very important role in our organization succeeding in recruitment. And so we set recruitment and fundraising goals with them, really focused on educating them on our hospital and our program and on cost connection so that when they went out to their friends and their people in their organization, they could knowledgeably talk about VolThon and why people should participate and why they should care. And then a call to action, creating a sense of urgency. We were very transparent with our team captains about where they were at, where they wanted to be, because they set their goals, and had those conversations and really worked with them to create a sense of urgency, not only for themselves, but for their team. And fundraising for us began about 4 weeks out from our event with the focus on the activation sprint of the sprint model, which seems pretty late to start fundraising. A lot of the people on our team were also pretty nervous about that. But it ended up being successful for us.
So now that we just talked about activation, looking at activation by the numbers for our total fundraising, in 2023, we actually saw a 6% decrease, which was our first decrease that our program history had saw in 9 years. So with that, if you remember the graph from one of the earlier slides, we had seen like little peaks throughout the year. Our team was planning fundraising push after fundraising push all throughout the year. Our main focus was a year-long fundraising. But with the sprint model, that soon changed. But still looking at 2023, we had a 70% increase of in event fundraising. So during our 12-hour dance marathon, most of our fundraising came from that. We got a lot of feedback from our participants that our programming was cut short due to many internal fundraising pushes during our main event, and it just wasn't as enjoyable. There was a constant push to fundraise, 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 just because we weren't hitting those numbers. So, with the implementation of the sprint model and really prioritizing those 4 weeks prior to our main event of fundraising, that's where we saw our big increase, and just planning to the trends again that we saw. So in 2024, we saw a 21% increase. During our event, we also saw a 49% increase of in-event fundraising. So we even still saw an increase of our fundraising during our 12-hour dance marathon. Um, and with that, we were able to still have all of our fun programming and events that participants really enjoyed, while I was also creating a cause connection fundraising tactic with that.
So, in summary, VolThon adapted the sprint model to fit our program and the trends we were seeing, but building off of that as a foundation. And it allowed for an increase in relationship building within our staff as well as our participants with our team captain program. And it incorporated fundraising in a way that made sense for our program. Thank you so much.